Last thing for me, Danny, it's not MMA related, but we did have a combat sports death with bare knuckle fighting championship.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just curious, kind of, I know it doesn't, I mean, are you concerned that things like that can impact the UFC and mixed martial arts as well? And do you have any thoughts about, kind of the role that the commission or the organization or what we can do to make sure this doesn't happen?
Well, let me start here. First of all, is anybody shocked? I mean, in bare knuckle fighting, I'm not a big fan, and I guess I would call it concern when I see some of our people when they leave here and go there, and it's like, oh my God. But when you look at this, we've been putting on fights for 25 years. I've done like over 7,000 fights with no serious injuries in the UFC, and we've had some broken bones, some bad broken bones, the shin bone being the worst because it just blows our mind when that bone breaks, and cuts. I mean that's what we have. But the reality is, when I talk about, this goes hand in hand with what we talked about with fighter pay and the money that we invest back in this sport. The number one thing to us is fighter safety. Fighter safety is a very big deal to us, has been since day one. We ran toward regulation. We do extensive pre, post fight medicals. We follow up afterwards with these guys. And I say this all the time. When you make sure that you've spent the right amount of money to make sure that you have healthy athletes competing, going into training, then during the fight, and then you make sure, I mean, the other night when Ortega fought, right? I walked into the octagon and I told his corner, I do not do an interview, do not talk to any media. I want you to go straight back. They're ready for you. They're going to put him in an ambulance and take him out of here. Get him right out of there and get him whatever. Then I'm walking out of the arena and I hear him doing an interview with Rogan, I didn't want him to do an interview. I wanted him to leave and go. We do this all the time when we see guys that are whatever. And every year, we spend over $20 million on athlete medical, $20 million a year, health and wellness or whatever it may be. And 25% of our athletes, we send to specialists. So a guy will come and his brain test won't come out. It'll be irregular. So we send him to a specialist. His heart, something was irregular with his heart. He goes and sees or she goes and sees a heart specialist. And we spend the money to find out, whatever it is that's wrong with them. And as a result of that, our pre-fight screening, throughout the last 20 years, we found 10 athletes that had life-threatening, medical problems with them, and that career-ending, that they shouldn't be fighting. That if they weren't in the UFC, they probably would have fought and they probably would have died. So, listen, this is and that doesn't include the Cleveland Clinic, which we've been doing for over 10 years now, studying fighters' brains and following up to make sure that these guys are safe. There's a lot of shit talk about us. Nobody does even remotely close to what we do in this sport. It's never been done what we do, and nobody ever will. It's just, so when you talk about, we shouldn't even be talked about in the same sentence as bare knuckle boxing. It's not even, it's two completely different worlds. And yes, we're very sorry to hear that this guy passed away. But you're never going to see any of these other organizations doing the type of, health, safety, and medical testing that we do for our athletes.
Dana, just off the back of that, you say that these other promotions won't do the same sort of stuff as you guys, and I think that's probably fair. So does that mean it's time for the commissions to step up? Like, we've seen this trend recently of older guys coming out, fighting again, and it looks like Evander and stuff like that. Is this a sad reminder that commissions actually have a job to step in and stop these fights from being made?
100%. And we work closely with the commissions too, but the thing is, whatever the commission says we have to do, we go way above and beyond that. You know, the truth is that this is a rough sport, but when you do the right medical testing and you spend the money